Welcome to Renegade Noble. My name's Jesse, and around here we talk a lot about training, about mindset, and about living a life that you're proud of. This episode is going to be a little bit different. After looking over what I've put together so far, I realized there were a few things I wanted to change from a production standpoint and just from a general content and direction standpoint that really are aimed to capture more the essence of what I wanted this channel to be. And look, I love the scripted content. I had fun putting it together. The research was great. It just didn't feel as authentic as I really wanted it to. And I realize I'm horrible with a teleprompter. So we're going to take a little bit of a new direction and we're going to go more ad hoc, more me putting things together and just kind of see how it goes. And maybe we'll make another change back to scripting and I'll just learn to be better with a teleprompter, or maybe not. We'll see. But I thought it would be a good opportunity to start with just an origin story. Before we go too far, I'll go ahead and acknowledge, yes, I have a black eye. It's just a occupational hazard, if you will, with my choice of extracurricular activities. And I thought about covering it up with makeup, but honestly, if one of my big goals is to really dive into the authenticity piece with the channel and make it feel like it's conversations with me, then you get the good and the bad. And so, yes, I have a black eye thanks to a knee to the eye, a knee to the face in general during training not too long ago. So, what is Renegade Noble? Well, I've always been fascinated by the concept of samurai and the martial arts and Bushido and this idea of honor in and of itself. But I was also always fascinated with those who were in a position of, I'm not going to say privilege because that's more of a current term, current idea, but more of a position of power, if you will, like the feudal lords or Renaissance era lords who had a responsibility to people, maybe a large group, maybe a small group, but also had a sense of honor that drove their um, daily life, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. Anyone who has known me long enough to know my general interests has known that I've always felt an affinity for this concept of a wandering swordsman, wandering Ronin, wandering lord. If you really want to get down to it, if you think about the concept of Aragorn as Strider in the Lord of the Rings, being the best kind of encapsulation of this idea of a character. And I didn't really know how to capture that with brand. I wanted it to be something that certainly spoke to this idea of being better and being more or doing more for others from the nobility perspective. But I also wanted to embrace this idea of not acquiescing to power, being questionable of authority for the sake of authority. Uh, I definitely have a rebellious streak. And so I wanted to make sure that was also captured in this overall idea of what the channel would be. And I've used Renegade Noble in the past for other things, nothing that was publicly done like this, but just playing with the concept. And so I've had the domain already for a long time and thought, let's just go ahead and bring this back and make it the branding for the channel. I think it fits. It certainly speaks to the idea of what I want to convey. And let's just go with it and see what happens. And so here we are, a few episodes in, and I do like the idea of continuing this same trajectory as far as what I'm trying to put into the world. I just want it to be more about me as a person and the ideas and how I try to live my life than the little lessons that I've put together at this point. Not that the lessons are a bad idea. It's just that why would you listen to me for those lessons? You don't know me, and so taking a step back and building that level of this is who I am seems like the next logical iteration for the channel. So with all of that said, who am I? Um, Good question. Everybody loves that question, right? Tell us something interesting about you, the horrible icebreakers that we all are subject to. At the end of the day, I'm a middle aged white guy who isn't happy with the world at large. Um, I think that speaks volumes for a lot of us, but there are many of us who really fit my demographic who are lost. Uh, we know that there's some way that we need to affect things around us, and we're constantly told that's not the way you do it, or why are you talking about this when it's not your experience or your problem per se. And so we struggle, we grasp at things to be able to provide our outrage in a way that doesn't offend others for being outraged, which is kind of an odd position to find yourself in. And it's actually compounded a bit when you think about generational stereotypes. Um, I come in at the tail end of Gen X. I'm actually in that micro generation between Gen X and millennials that kind of blends both of those worlds in a way that can be strange at times. And so I would say that I'm more emotionally attuned to not wanting to offend others than a lot of my peers. But I also embrace that, you know what, I don't care what you think mentality and idea. I need to live my life in a way that I'm proud of, which is the whole purpose of this channel. And so, what really does that mean for this channel? Well, the episodes we've already done are a perfect example of the ideas and beliefs and things that need to go forward. It's just changing the delivery a bit. I intentionally observe and change and modify ideas based on new information all the time. And what I want to help people do in general is figure out what that means for them and how that applies to everything that you encounter. Maybe it's in your professional life that you have problems that you're wanting to change. Maybe it's relationships at home. Maybe it's relationships elsewhere. It doesn't have to be at home. But the big idea is that we can all do our part to be better, to make the world better for both us and those around us, if we just do a few different things that are really not that inconvenient. And so that's what this channel was originally designed for. And what I want to do is get to the point where you can come here and you can listen to an episode and be inspired to make a change. Maybe it's a minor change, and that's how it starts. Maybe it's a major change because there's something that you took away that was just a huge boost for you mentally or emotionally or physically. Not every episode will be done in this type of set. I do think I want to expand and change the production set a bit from what I've done so far. But this is easy for me to set up on a fairly consistent basis and have a uniform aesthetic. So yeah, still be a lot of talking heads, but I do want to expand what you come to the channel for. And I don't want it to all seem like lectures. I really do want it to be, this is how I've improved, and maybe you can take something from it. I think that's kind of a nice, long winded, rambling way of getting you up to speed on kind of what set the stage for why I created the channel. Let's talk a little more about why you would even listen to me. Who am I? And what is it that I think that I bring to the table? So I think it's pretty clear, based on my complexion, that there are certain experiences I've never had. And I don't want to pretend to understand a lot of those things. But I do want to make it clear. I've spent my life learning and understanding behavior because it interests me. It's a topic that I'm very much involved with on a constant basis because what more interesting thing is there than human behavior? So while I'm not going to pretend that I understand a lot of the things that I'm probably going to talk about, I do want to emphasize that it does at least come from a place of interest and intrigue and trying to understand it. If that offends you, great. You don't need to worry about coming back to the channel. Hope you don't feel that way, but I do want to be clear about and set expectations. So let's talk a little bit about the experiences that I do bring to the table. Um, I've spent a couple of different iterations going from insanely out of shape to what I would say is probably the best shape of my life in my later years. I try to do my part to maintain that at this point, and still continue to do better and get better. And so there's a certain amount of what I will talk about going forward related to physical transformation and change, because I feel like I have a lot that I can share there. I had to repeat the process a second time, not necessarily because of lifestyle changes, but because I had to have reconstructive surgery on a foot, and I was unable to put weight on it for 12 weeks, and then, of course, the healing process after that. And so the idea of dealing with the pressures of life and being able to transform health and fitness, that's going to be part of it. but it's not the physical piece. I don't want to try to make it sound like I'm here to give workout advice or anything else of that nature. My contribution here is the same contribution that I would make for many other aspects of life, and that's the mental and emotional turmoil and aspects that make a huge change like that possible in the first place. Most change, most transformations are facilitated because of emotional and mental clarity of purpose. And that's what this channel is really going to focus on. So, all of that is to say, the core message is just how do we be better? How am I a better human being day to day? How am I a better human being for those people around me who interact with me? Um, if I had to summarize it in a nutshell, the one core thing that I have repeatedly said over and over and over, if I've done my part right, then you will be a better person for having met me. Whether it's minimal contact or just an in depth relationship, my goal is to make you better for having met me. And if I do that, then I am doing my part to be a better person. So, what does this mean from an audience perspective for a channel? Honestly, I don't know. I don't do it for that. I would like to grow the audience, and I would like to think that these messages resonate with people in a way that is needed with the influx of stuff that we have to deal with day to day at this point. But I don't know. We'll see. If you want to hear more of my thoughts in general, I do have a podcast that's been going for quite some time where myself and my co host started it specifically for ourselves, much like I've started this channel for me. Um, at the end of the day, I want my son to be able to look back at the things that I've contributed and put into the world and be proud of them. And I want to be proud of what I've put into the world in a way that helps speak to things can be better if we take action or if we try to be better. And it doesn't take a lot. So, with that understanding of why the branding is what it is and the origin, kind of the naming thoughts, and just a little bit about who I am, hopefully you get a better feel for what I want this to be like going forward. I really do want it to be more me sharing things that I've been able to do or accomplish as a result of a shift in mindset or a shift in perspective. That's where I feel my strengths lie. And that's where I really hope people will see the authenticity come through. If you have specific topics, I would love to hear them. By all means, leave a comment if you think the new direction is going to be horrible. I will take all of it as constructive criticism, even if it ends up being trolling instead. But the idea is pretty simple. I want this channel to be something that is not just a let me go look up this particular episode for one thing or another. I want it to be something where any episode is something that you can come to when you're having a bad day or you want to make a change or anything of that nature. And you can listen and say, you know what? I want to make that type of change. I feel inspired to make something different happen. That's my goal. If you like the idea, I do encourage you to like, subscribe. The only way we're going to get the message out there is to eventually grow the audience base for the channel. And it's not about me, honestly. It's about this core idea that we can all do our part to be better. And if we are, everything improves. So until next time, be kind, be clear, be accountable, be brave, be useful, be renegade noble.